Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWUS. Greetings from college football hell. Man, I just cannot figure out that sport right now. It's really frustrating. I mean, the Mets just beat the Phillies in Philadelphia, game 1 in the NLDS, having a great NFL season. I should be in a good mood right now, but college football is literally taking years off my life. I put so much effort into that ticket just to take a bunch of losses. Really frustrated. Apologies to those who tailed. I'm really struggling to see the board properly when it comes to college football. But NFL's been good. So let's try to keep the positivity rolling on the NFL side. Like I said, this is the London game. Jets, Vikings. Let's do it.
Welcome to the SWUS. The SWUS. SWUS. Hey, get the SWUS.
All right, like I said, we got Jets, Vikings at Tottenham here. Vikes laying 2.5 or even 2. A couple 2s have popped up. Total sitting at 40.5 pretty much across the board. Let's take a look at the pie charts, and according to this data, public action coming in on the Minnesota side, 75% of the tickets. Money coming in on the Jets side, 67% of the money. As I always say, take this data with a grain of salt. Although in this particular instance, it does kind of make sense. Minnesota's been has looked like clearly the better team. Minnesota's looking like one of the best teams in the NFL so far this year. So to get them at under a field goal, you got to think most of the action's coming in on the Vikings. Something is keeping this line under 3. It's been sitting at 2.5 all week, and now even 2s are popping up. So there must be sharp money somewhere on the Jets side. That's the only thing that would make sense of this line. But anyway, let's talk about this matchup. As far as head-to-head history goes, the Vikes have taken 3 in a row. 3-0 against the spread, 3-0 straight up in their last 3 matchups against the Jets. But I mean, 2022, 2018, and 2014, pretty much irrelevant. 4 straight overs, though, for those of you that like trends. And also that over trend goes back a little deeper than that. In the last 9 matchups between the Jets and Vikings, 7-2 to the over. So the over has been the move in the Jets-Vikings rivalry for the last 16, 20 years, or however long of a sample size this is. But what do we think about this matchup this year? Well, Aaron Rodgers had his best game as a member of the New York Jets against the Patriots a couple weeks back. Over 77% completions, 8 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, a 118.9 passer rating. Things were looking good in New York, and he followed that up with his worst performance as a member of the New York Jets. Now, granted, it was raining, but still, 57.1% completions, 5.4 yards per attempt, 72 passer rating. Aaron Rodgers' raw passing numbers on the season have dipped back to below average. 24th in completion percentage, 25th in yards per attempt, 24th in pressure to sack rate, 17th in passer rating. That's amongst 35 qualified quarterbacks, although there are some advanced metrics that indicate he's had a little bit of bad luck, maybe not getting a ton of help from his wide receiving core. Amongst 35 qualified quarterbacks, he's 5th in passer grade, 6th in big-time throw rate, 1st in turnover-worthy play rate, 8th in dropped pass rate. So maybe not getting a ton of help from his wide receivers. So Aaron Rodgers' numbers on the season don't look great. Might not be entirely his fault, though, to be fair. Now, some bad news for the Jets. It looked like they may get Morgan Moses back. He was listed as questionable. He's been ruled out. So right tackle Morgan Moses is going to miss another game here for the Jets, and that could be a concern. Check this out. In weeks 1 through 3, Aaron Rodgers was sacked 5 times and pressured on 18 dropbacks. Last week against the Broncos, in that game alone, he was also sacked 5 times and pressured on 17 dropbacks. So Aaron Rodgers was pressured and sacked as much in the Broncos game that he had been in the 3 games up to that point this season. So pass protection wasn't looking great against Denver. Now, you could point to the Broncos defensive front and say, hey, well, Kyle, Broncos have a pretty good pass rush this year, and you wouldn't be wrong. They're 13th in pressure rate, 3rd in adjusted sack rate. Look at their defensive numbers against the pass. They're looking excellent. 2nd in yards per pass attempt, 9th in success rate per dropback, 3rd in EPA. So you may be saying, oh, Kyle, well, that's an outlier. They played a really good pass defense, a really good pass rush. Well, they're playing the Vikings. And in case you haven't been watching Vikings football so far this year, those Brian Flores blitz packages have been working. They're actually 1st in the NFL in pressure rate, 8th in adjusted sack rate. Look at their pass defense numbers. The Denver pass defense numbers looked pretty good. The Vikings pass defense numbers are every bit as good against a stronger schedule. 11th in yards per pass attempt allowed, 7th in success rate per dropback, 2nd in EPA, 1st in pass defense DVOA. Now, we do have to give some credit to Aaron Rodgers. He's actually handled handle pressure somewhat well. When pressured, he's making the right decisions. He's protecting the football first in turnover-worthy play rate. Passer rating 75.6 when pressured. That's not bad. The problem is the bottom left of this graphic. 25%, 29th in pressure to sack rate. So when Aaron Rodgers has been pressured so far this year, yeah, he's making some throws. He's protecting the football. In terms of throwing the ball, he's been okay, but he's taking sacks at a high rate. Look, it's Aaron Rodgers. It's one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen. I'm sure the Brian Flores blitz packages aren't going to completely blank him. If there is a quarterback that has the football IQ to figure out how to make some plays against those blitzes, it's Aaron Rodgers. So I'm sure he will make some plays, but as far as the matchup on paper, it's not great. The Vikings pass rush should be a problem here for Rodgers and the Jets. Now, what about the run game? Are the Jets going to be able to run it here? Well, the Jets offensive line, they've done a decent job in pass protection so far this year. Can't say the same in terms of creating space in the run game. 26 in adjusted line yards, 23rd in run blocking grade, 32nd, dead last in yards before contact. Look at the Jets rushing numbers, 25th in yards per carry, 17th in success rate, 22nd in EPA, 26th in rushing DVOA. This has not been a good rushing attack. And again, in case you haven't been watching Vikings football, their defense is pretty damn good. They're actually first in the NFL in yards before contact, second in run defense grade, 13th in adjusted line yards. Look at their run defense numbers on the year. Third in the NFL in yards per carry, 7th in success rate, 5th in EPA, first in run defense DVOA. And you want to know what else this Vikings defense has going for them right now? They're healthy. We see what's going on in the NFL right now. A lot of teams dealing with injuries. As far as the Vikings defense goes, Ivan Pace Jr. listed as questionable. That's it. Other than that, they're at full strength. So as far as the matchup between the Jets offense and the Vikings defense, should be a favorable one for Minnesota. I expect Aaron Rodgers to be able to make some plays and beat the blitz for Brian Flores a few times. I think the Jets will get in the end zone a couple times, but as a whole, it should be tough sledding for the Jets offense here. Now, what about on the other side? Let's talk about Sam Darnold. And as I'm sure you've heard, he's been awesome, man. Third in the NFL in yards per attempt, first in passing touchdowns, second in passer rating. That's amongst 35 qualified quarterbacks. Now, there are a couple red flags here. He's 22nd in turnover-worthy play rate, so he is putting the ball in harm's way a bit. We haven't seen it really affect him yet, but usually when a player has a high turnover-worthy play rate, eventually we see that come back to bite him. He's also 32nd amongst those 35 quarterbacks in time to throw. So he's holding on to the ball a little long as well. But that has not stopped Sam Darnold from leading the Vikings to be, what is probably a top 5 passing offense right now. Second in the NFL in yards per attempt, third in success rate per dropback, fifth in EPA, sixth in passing DVOA. Now, they have met their match here with the Jets, though. This is the Jets secondary. It's arguably the best secondary in the NFL. They're actually first in the NFL in yards per pass attempt allowed, second in success rate, fifth in EPA, 12th in DVOA. So on paper, as far as what we've seen this year, it's one of the best passing attacks in the NFL against one of the best pass defenses in the NFL. I do question the Vikings defensive competition a bit. Here are the 4 teams they've played so far this year, and next to them, I put their success rate per dropback, basically their pass defense ranking in terms of success rate. Giants 17th, 49ers 14th, Texans 12th, Packers 28th. We just mentioned how the Jets are second. So if you use success rate as your metric, the Jets defense is definitely going to be Sam Darnold's toughest test so far this season. That being said, we can play the same exact game on the other side. Look who the Jets have played offensively. This is their offensive success rate per dropback rating. 49ers 6th. So obviously 49ers are legitimate, but 49ers did whatever they wanted on the Jets in the opener. Since then, Titans 28th, Patriots 25th, Broncos 30th. So I guess you can poke some holes in the Vikings passing numbers so far this year, but you can do the same exact thing with the Jets pass defense numbers. Now, one thing we know the Jets are going to be doing here is running man coverage. 35.7% man coverage frequency this year, 6th in the NFL. Why is that significant? Because Sam Darnold has absolutely cooked on man coverage. These numbers are nuts. Averaging over 15 yards per pass attempt against man coverage this year, a 151.7 passer rating, almost a perfect passer rating against man coverage. On the season, Sam Darnold is first in the NFL in yards per pass attempt and first in passer rating against man coverage this year. This has been the best quarterback in the NFL against man coverage so far this year. and the Jets run a lot of man coverage. Not a great look there for the Jets defense. Now we can point at the pass rush, and at first glance, this looks like a solid angle for the Jets defense. They're 9th in pressure rate, 5th in adjusted sack rate. The pass rush has been there for the Jets. And if you look at the Vikings, the weakness of this offense has been protecting Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's been under pressure in a few of these games. They're actually 29th in pressure rate allowed. And if you look at these Sam Darnold splits here, he actually has struggled a little bit when pressured. When given a clean pocket, he's been the man. 10 yards per attempt, a passer rating over 127, looking like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL when given a clean pocket. But when pressured, we see his numbers drop. I mean, 22nd in pressure to sack rate, so he is taking sacks, just 5.9 yards per attempt, 4.2 turnover-worthy play rate. Actually, his turnover-worthy play rate is worrisome, both with a clean pocket and when pressured. But no question, there's a drop-off in production here when Sam Darnold is pressured. And we just saw the Jets have been generating pressure, so that's a concern. But look at the current state of this Jets defense. Hassan Reddick, obviously, he hasn't played at all this year. He's waiting for a contract. Jermaine Johnson, out for the season. He got hurt in the Patriots game. CJ Mosley, listed as doubtful. He might not play in this game again. We've only seen one Jets football game this year without these three guys on the field. So these three guys probably not playing in this Vikings game. We've only seen them play one game this year without those three. Want to know what game it was? The Denver game. And Bo Nix was pressured on just 19.2% of his dropbacks in that game. 29th most in the NFL that week. So on the road in MetLife Stadium, Bo Nix was one of the least pressured quarterbacks in the NFL last week. That's not exactly a ringing endorsement for the Jets pass rush. I mean, with the current injuries, I'm not sure how effective this Jets pass rush is. So as good as this Jets secondary is, we've seen Sam Darnold's numbers throwing the ball with a clean pocket. We've seen his numbers throwing the ball against man coverage. If you're going to give Sam Darnold time to throw in the pocket with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, doesn't matter if you have the two best corners in the NFL. If he has time to throw, he's going to make plays. So even though this Jets pass defense is very, very good, don't love the matchup with the current injuries here. Now, what about the run game? Are the Vikings going to be able to run it here? Well, that's been the Achilles heel of the Jets defense. They're just 20th in yards per carry, 27th in success rate, 22nd in EPA, 27th in DVOA. Their defensive line has just been getting blown off the line of scrimmage, 28th in adjusted line yards, 31st in run defense grade. Last week against the Broncos, this was a Broncos RB room that has really been struggling so far this year. In weeks 1 through 3, they were averaging 30.7 rushing yards per game on 2.19 yards per carry. One of the least effective RB rooms in the entire NFL. Last week on the road in MetLife, 123 rushing yards, 4.92 yards per carry. So yeah, safe to say this Jets defensive front with the current injuries without CJ Mosley out there, they struggle a bit to stop the run, and the Vikings have been running the ball. They're 12th in yards per carry, 8th in success rate, 15th in EPA, 17th in rushing DVOA. Their offensive line has done a great job creating space in the run game, 6th in adjusted line yards, 4th in run blocking grade. I mean, on paper, Vikings should have no problem running the ball on the Jets. And then if you include that Sam Darnold can probably make some plays against the Jets man coverage, looks like a pretty favorable matchup for the Vikings offense here, which is why in terms of placing a bet, I mean, there's just no way I can take the Jets here. I mean, the fact that this line's been sitting at 2.5 and even dropping down to 2, no question there must be some sharp action coming in on the Jets side. I'm not seeing it. The Vikings is definitely going to be a super square bet. The bet I actually placed, though, the over. I took over 40.5. Check this trend out. And by the way, I took the over because I like the matchup for the Vikings offense, and I think Aaron Rodgers is able to make some plays against the Brian Flores blitz packages. So I actually like the matchup for the over. I'm not just playing the over trend here with the Jets and Vikings, and I'm not just playing this trend either, although I do think it's interesting. London NFL game since 2018. This game's being played at Tottenham. The average total points at Tottenham, 48.1. At Wembley, 34.6. So a lot of people think the London games are low scoring. That's at Wembley Stadium. At Tottenham, they've actually been higher scoring. And games where we saw 40-plus points scored, at Wembley Stadium, just 1 out of 7. At Tottenham, 8 of 8. Every single game played at Tottenham, there was 40 or more points scored. This totals at 40.5. One of the games landed on 40. So 7 of the 8 games played at Tottenham would have went over 40.5. So I like the matchup for the Vikings offense. I think Aaron Rodgers is able to make some plays against the Vikings blitz packages. Give me the over here. If you're forcing me to pick a side, I guess I would just side with the world and take the Vikings at -2. Line doesn't make a ton of sense to me, but it's really scaring me. Clearly, there's some sharp action coming in on the other side. So I'm on the over here, over 40.5. I bet this one. If you'd like to see all the bets I currently have open, head over to KyleKirms.com and click on open bets. You'll see everything. I should put a disclaimer there. Ignore the college football bets based on the last few weeks. Wow. That's been bad. NFL bets have done well, though, so I shouldn't beat myself up. NFL's gone well. College football's a nightmare. But yeah, if you're interested in that, head over to KyleKirms.com and click on open bets. Also, if you sign up to Sauce Network Plus, it comes with access to the Discord, and you can participate in the weekly betting league. $150 on one of these trophies go to the winner every single week. So if you're interested in that, head over to the website and sign up. Live show, 11 a.m. Eastern time. We'll be live for 2 hours going through every single game. If you're able to make it, we'd love to see you in the comments. Let's have ourselves a good NFL Sunday. Need to bounce back from a bad college football Saturday. Slap me if you heard this before. Rinse, lather, repeat. Lose a bunch of money on college football Saturday. Get a chunk of it back on NFL Sunday. Rinse, lather, repeat. So hopefully the process continues. Remember to bet responsibly. Talk to you in the Discord.